business is to approve the minutes outstanding. First, the Building and Maintenance Committee meeting of September 28th, which was not ready for our prior meeting. And the members present at that were Dr. Jim Manning, Jim Pittman, and Tim Eldridge, who is not here tonight. A motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Manning and seconded by Jim Pittman. Boy, two of you were in favor?
Yep. Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next set of minutes is the Academic Affairs meeting held on October 4th. The members present were Chris Abear, Tim Eldridge, Wade Federson, Stephanie King, and Charlene Sutton.
So I don't think Wendy was actually present at that meeting.
Was not. She was not.
Okay, I will scratch her from that. Thank you.
I move we approve the minutes.
Right. We actually didn't get the JICI or JICK at that meeting either. They were on the agenda, however.
JICI and JICK. Okay, so we'll scratch those two. Okay, moved by Charlene. Who seconded that? Stephanie?
I'll second.
Okay, Stephanie seconded. Okay, then those present were Krista, Stephanie, and Charlene that are present here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and yeah, Tim.
Yes, Tim was here. He's not here
Yeah,
tonight, so-
aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next set of minutes is the school board meeting from October 4th. Do we have a motion to approve?
There was one spelling error, which changes the semantics of the sentence. On page 5, the last bullet in closing comments,
Okay,
should be, she said, even though you can't be here in person, not can't be her.
okay, we can make that change.
And I have another correction.
Yes?
Under closing comments by board members. The second comment, as I recall, was by Ms. Abear, and she's the one who shared the story of a family that relocated to a different state with a no mask mandate at the school, and the children brought COVID home with their mother contracted and died. That was Ms. Abear.
Correct.
And I think that was right after Jack welcomed Fallon to theirs.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, and then, that's all I have.
okay, with those two changes, do I have a motion to approve? Okay, Stephanie makes the motion. Second?
Second.
Second by Dana?
Yeah.
Second by Dana. Okay, roll call vote. Krista?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Okay, the next order is the manifest. And the manifest to be approved tonight, accounts payable is $1,368,718.03. Payroll manifests are $2,701,182.66 for a total of $4,069,900.69.
Move to accept.
Moved by Jim Pittman,
Second.
second by Dr. Jim. Okay, all those in favor, Krista?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to have public input for 15 minutes. Again, 5 minutes max per individual, so we'll try to keep your comments short so everyone who wants to speak can have an opportunity. And I'm going to start in the lecture hall tonight, and then we'll go to the other room, and then back here, back in the other room. So come up to the microphone, please state your name and the town that you're from.
Can you use this microphone, just kind of pull it toward you?
This one?
Yeah, just pull it toward you. I'm very sorry, but technology is not cooperating.
Can I hold it?
You can.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Duran, and I live in Wolfeboro, and I'm a parent of 3 girls. I have high schoolers who are in the 10th grade, and I have a 5th grader at Crescent Lake School. And I'm here tonight to extend a very big thank you to our community. On Friday night at the Crescent Lake School, the PTO held its very first annual trunk or treat event. This event was pulled together with the hearts and the volunteer hours of all of the parents at Crescent Lake, our wonderful principal, Mr. Bieberstock, all the members of our PTO, our teachers, our staff, our administrators, our custodians, as well as the parents who volunteered and designed about 22 different trunks and came out in full force and decorated them and had music, and we had lighting out in the back of Crescent Lake School and inflatables and decorations. It was just wonderful. We also were lucky enough to have Mr. Fuller of Kingswood and our Honor Society students who designed all the games and ran all the games, as well as DECA students from Lakes Region Technology Center. They were all volunteers throughout the evening. And to top it all off, we also had the participation of the Wolfeboro Police Department and the Wolfeboro Fire Department as well. This was a very well attended event. We think at least about 150, if not more, students and their siblings and parents attended. And this was an all-volunteer event that the whole community came together. And I'm so grateful for everyone in our community and all their hard work. I had the pleasure of chairing the event, and we hope to keep it going from now on. And I just wanted to say thank you and let the school board know some of the wonderful things that are happening in our school community and how everyone's coming together. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to the cafeteria now. If somebody would like to speak in the cafeteria, you can please state your name and the town you're from, and we'll... If there's no one in the cafeteria that would like to speak, we'll come back to this room. Okay, we'll come back to, we'll go back to the cafeteria at the next speaker. Is there anyone else in this room that would like to speak?
Go ahead, try that.
Try this one?
Yes, please, thank you.
Test, is working? Yeah. Not
Really?
right.
Get turned on. Get those get turned on.
Just this. Justin Martin, town of Wolfeboro. Just a few moments ago, we said the pledge of allegiance to the flag. The word in there I kind of want to point out is indivisible. Any of the members on the board, do you find that there's any division amongst the meeting that's here tonight than you would say like a few years ago? Is there any more division amongst the people? Anyone? No. Like maybe the people down in the cafeteria not being allowed in this room, there's no division? Nothing? Okay. Out in the parking lot, if you look at all the vehicles on the license plates, there's a certain phrase that we stand by here in the state of New Hampshire. Anyone think of the phrase I'm considering here? You know, live free or die. It's kind of an important statement. I think a lot of people have forgotten living free. If you're in this room right now with an officer ready to give you court summons for not wearing a mask, having people just not allow you in the building, I mean, forcing this on people that don't want to wear it, do you think that's a sense of freedom? Do you think anything is lost from amongst the people? No? Nothing? Francis Scott Key, 1812, overlooking the Battle of Fort McHenry. The Americans just getting demolished, and woke up in the morning, saw what he's, and he wrote a song of what he saw. Star Spangled Banner ends with a certain phrase, land of the free, home of the brave. Does this look like the land of the free? No? No words? Nothing? This needs to stop. This is not free. Parents should have the option. If you want to put a mask in your kid, fine, have at it. If you want them to go to school with the vaccines, fine, have at it. But if they don't want to wear a mask, if you don't want to get vaccines, it should be up to the parents. This is not free. This is not living free. This is not live free or die. This isn't what we're standing here for. This is unbelievable. We're what, like 2 years into 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we're still going on with this nonsense? Is there anything in the future that, do we know how long, I mean, could this be like for 10 years that we're wearing these things? I mean, at what point do we say, no, like, what point is this going to end? I mean, can we really sit down and focus on why we're here and what we're standing here for? Live free or die, land of the free? No? We're just gonna keep wearing the mask and you're gonna do what you're told or you're gonna be sent to court. That's all I have to say, but this needs some looking into. I think a lot of people have lost touch with what we stand here for. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the capital area that would like to speak? Anyone in the cafeteria that would like to speak?
Hello?
Yeah, please state your name and
Can you hear me?
Please state your name and your town you're from.
My name is Nick McNally. I'm from Wolfeboro.
Thank you.
So, I just want to say thank you to the gentleman that just spoke before me. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I emailed the information email given by GWRSD Regional School Board for information. Now, I asked a question, and the response that I got didn't answer the question in one bit. In fact, it entirely avoided answering my question. Now, that doesn't leave me feeling like we have a whole lot of trust in the school board if they're intentionally not answering questions, avoiding certain topics, not engaging with the public. I just don't think there's any trust left there. So why should we be trusting your decisions? And I think that's why you're seeing a whole lot of people starting to show up more and more. But that's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else in this room would like to speak? If that mic isn't working, you may have to use the other one.
Yeah, I turned it on, but I can't, I don't get it. You want to try real quick? Yeah, you're gonna go that way. We tried. Having all kinds of fun.
Hello, I'm Tom Bickford, and I have a child in the district. And I'm here simply to say that I support school boards following the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services guidelines to keep our schools open and our children safe. Thank you.
Thank you. We will take one more person from the cafeteria if there's somebody that would like to speak.
Hi, good evening. My name is Audrey Cooper from Wolfeboro. I'm a retired ER nurse, and I'm really appalled at the mandates that you are imposing on our children.
Thank you. We'll have additional public input at the end of our meeting. Right now, we'll move on with the rest of our agenda. Thank you. Okay, Fallon, student representative report. Make sure you bring that mic right to you.
I just wanted to start off with, talking about home.
Fallon, really, she.
Oh, I should, sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to say, to start off talking about homecoming and the pep rally. Student council did a really good job. It was really successful. Both of them were outside. Everything went very smoothly. We managed to find tents. It was fun. And the past week we celebrated Red Ribbon Week, and it supports kids saying no to drugs. And in our student council meeting the other day, we talked about our upcoming Thanksgiving baskets, and every A block is going to start bringing in canned goods for the food drive. And I just wanted to also touch on what Carrie Duran said, and the trunk or treat was very successful. I talked to Mr. Fuller about it, and he's very excited to continue doing that in future years. We also have midterms coming up this week on Wednesday and Thursday, which means we're 1/4 way done with the school year. We've also been having college pass talks for seniors for the upcoming, for college. We also have a college fair that happened, and we're also going to have in the tech center, I believe, it's going to be for more business-oriented, apprenticeship, trade business, and military recruiters are going to be coming. I also want to touch on sports. I had a meeting with House the other day, and 6 out of our fall sports teams made playoffs. Boys soccer had a really big win the other night. They're heading to the semifinals tomorrow. Me and all of the other student athletes just want to thank the board for being able to have a successful sports season. I know that was a really, really big relief that we got to do that again this year. I also talked with House. We had a lot more numbers this year. We had 58 more kids to sign up, which is really exciting. Winter registration is open until November 5th. House wanted to make sure that everyone gets signed up by then. Me and the SALT Club traveled to Hannaford, and we purchased canned goods for 48 Hours of Hunger a couple weeks ago. Oh, and also the middle school boys were undefeated this season, and they won the Lakes Region Invitational, which was very exciting. I also had a meeting with Mrs. Tatro the other, I had a meeting with Mr. Willett actually, about the LRTC and just some upcoming events. The Culinary Arts is actually finally having their official opening on, I think they opened last week actually. They're open Tuesday through Thursday, reservations only. It's very exciting because last year was not open to the public. Yeah, the Skylight Dining Room. I also talked to Mrs. Willett about the graphic design, and Mr. Farragher and that class are working on this year's yearbook. They've been going around taking pictures in classrooms, athletic events, and homecoming, which is really exciting. We actually had Harmony Drenning create a homecoming video throughout the week, which was really cool and really awesome of her to do that. Marketing attended their first field trip to Plymouth State the other day, which is also very exciting. And HOSA has an upcoming field trip on November 5th.
Thank you very much, Fallon. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report, COVID update.
First, I just want to thank you, Fallon, for your great report. We haven't had a student representative now for over a year, and it's so nice to have a representative here that can let everyone in the public know some of the great things that are going on in our school. And you just did a great job covering all elements of the school. So thank you very much for that. It was really a nice report. I'm going to start out with the COVID-19 update. There's not as much to talk about as far as COVID as there has been in past meetings. In September, of course, Carroll County is still on the high transmission rate. the good news about COVID. In September, the number of positive cases in the schools was 50, and in October, it was 38. So that's nice to see, and I'd love to see that trend continue. On Friday, folks may know that the Pfizer vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 received emergency approval from the FDA, and the Center for Disease Control is expected to come out with recommendations this week. So the vaccine could be available for children as early as next week. Now, we were able to offer for adults who wanted to receive the vaccine an opportunity to come to the schools. What I'm hearing is that for us to do that with the students is going to take some time. Apparently, the funds are a little bit slower coming in on that. So we won't be able to do that right away, but there will be places across the state for parents to bring their children. Also, I wanted to, you'll recall that school board that you had a discussion about shortening the quarantine period, and you had given me the authority to do so after checking on what the medical advice would be. So actually, Cheryl Nielsen from the Department of Health and Human Services reached out to me to let me know that the Department of Health and Human Services will not endorse shortening the quarantine period. And this was because they based their 10-day quarantine period using our local New Hampshire data for their modeling. So, and further, the Department of Health and Human Services has total authority over the quarantine through RSA 141C. So I think for now it will be a 10-day quarantine period. So, is there anything else that the board wanted to talk about relative to that?
I think we're all set on the updates at this point. Thank you.
Okay. The next item is right to know. The school board, as you all know, have asked me to keep an accounting of the amount of time and money spent on our recent right to know request as part of budget preparation. So I started by simply counting the number of requests we've had. Since the end of the last school year, we've had 11 requests. We had 2 in June, 3 in September, 7 in October, and I just received another one tonight. Now, some of these requests have been very extensive, one of them involving thousands of electronic pages of curriculum and 23 boxes of curriculum documents and materials. Others have involved invoices, HVAC plans, architectural drawings, maintenance records, phone records, and months of email correspondence. Because of the extensive nature of some of the requests, they can take 40 or 50 hours to complete and involve several people in our school district. We have had teachers, our curriculum director, our business administrator, our IT person, my administrative assistant, and of course myself involved in all these requests. We have also have attorney's fees because we have to make sure that everything we send out, have to make sure that information is redacted that would violate the privacy of individual employees, parents, and children. So we now have 3 right-to-know requests. Well, when I wrote this, we had 3 on deck. Now we have 4. As far as costs at the moment, without knowing exactly what the attorney's fees will be for October, and without quantifying all the staff hours that have put in, it looks like it may be somewhere between $11,000 and $15,000 for what we have right now. Of course, this is problematic from a financial point of view, and it's also becoming very difficult to conduct the day-to-day business of the school district and comply with the request. So I wanted to give the school board a couple of things to think about tonight. Since we are getting more right-to-know requests, we're also getting right-to-know requests about the right-to-know request. It might be more efficient for us to post the date of the request and the request themselves on the website. That way people would need to make a right-to-know request to get the original right-to-know request. So, something for you to think about. Also, with the time and money involved in these requests, it may be more time and cost effective to have a private company managing have, like us, have had an inordinate number of these requests have done this. And I'm not asking you for a decision tonight. I'd like to gather more information. However, I did want to introduce these ideas in the event we can continue to get the volume and the nature of requests we seem to be getting. I really don't want the daily operation of the district to suffer.
Thank you, Kathy. I would like to have a discussion on posting the right-to-know requests on our website. We are getting significant requests for the original right-to-know requests, you know, what they were and all that. So rather than duplicating that, the right-to-know requests are, you know, so we're as transparent as possible. And I think to be able to post the original on a website, to me makes a lot of sense. It's out there. Anybody that wants to see what the requests were, you know, who made the request, and the amount of time that, you know, we can document what time is put into those, I think makes a lot of, you know, some decent, anyway, so that's my personal opinion. I'd like the opinion from the rest of the board. Charlene?
Well,
Just bring your mic right down so you can hear it.
okay, can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a cellular phone commercial. So I absolutely think that that would be an important thing for us to do, because then it would help people who want to know. They'd have that information. And I did have a question, and I hope that Kathy, maybe you can answer this. I know that one of the requests earlier last month was honored, and that we have in the conference room at the SAU the table that is filled with 23 boxes of information that was requested, as well as all kinds of electronic information and thousands of pages. It's my understanding that the person who made that original request has not yet come in to examine what we have produced. Is that correct?
That is correct. There was another development tonight. I did give the individual a timeline, because some of the curriculum materials needed to go back to the teachers as of November 1st. So our curriculum director this afternoon took things back to the teachers, and at 5:30 I got another request saying that this individual would be in between November 4th and 18th. So it amounts to another new right-to-know request, which I guess would make it 2 tonight.
So, okay, so now, as I recall, all of that information has been available since October the 18th.
That's right.
And the individual has now, having not come in, is now that some of the information has had to be returned to the classrooms, now the individual is saying they're going to come in sometime between November when and when?
Yes, so obviously I don't know that the material's back in the classroom, so I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, his dates right now are November 4th to the 18th, and the way I understand it, if the material is not available when he comes in, then he'll issue a renewed right to know for the same material all over again.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for all of this to be on our website. I think that we need to be transparent, and I would fully support that.
Anyone else?
I have
Yes, Stephanie?
I have concerns about the privacy of the individuals making the right to know requests, that if we are putting, please describe to me what, so your intent is to, or the suggestion is to put the entirety of the right to know request with the individual's name publicly on the website?
Well, I think the public has a right to know that we're spending taxpayers' money for the right to know request, which is perfectly legal. We're required to provide the right to know information. What's that?
You're going to call out individuals that requested it?
Once someone files a request, it becomes part of the public record. That's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
What I'm worried about is people becoming hesitant to make right-to-know requests if they know that their information is going to be displayed very publicly. That's my concern. That the spirit of the law encourages people to know, but I think also it is not intended to, draw excessive attention to the person making that request.
So Stephanie, are you saying that once someone files a right-to-know request, that is not part of the public record?
That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that we should really think carefully on displaying all of that information front and center on our website. I think it would have the effect of making people who are filing legitimate right-to-know requests for legitimate reasons more hesitant to do so because of the very public nature and the potential to attract negative consequences from the public for that.
Any other comments? Jim?
Yeah, Stephanie, I respectfully disagree with you on that. I think that you have people who have every right to request this information. Right-to-know laws are a great thing. It does impose a burden on our school system if they become excessive, and it's difficult for us to know the motives for people who are filing these, but as Kathy has reported, we seem to have suddenly a large volume of requests. And, if they came to a meeting and requested information, for example, here, they couldn't do it anonymously. They would have to identify themselves. And I don't think that having anonymity in terms of that process does any favors to any of us.
So there is no anonymity. It's just the difference of displaying it publicly on the website, and that's the question at hand. And I do understand that this is costing the district money, and I think that the public needs to know that, and particularly those individuals who are making right-to-know requests for personal purposes, and things that are, in my opinion, much more personal and less legitimate right-to-know requests for the purpose of attacking certain other people. I generally think as a broad policy that we should really be cautious about putting all right-to-know requests publicly on the website. If somebody wants to make a specific request to find out who is making right-to-know requests, it seems unfair to put the district in the middle of a personal battle. However, that is their right to do it, and we can share information about that in the meetings and hope to inform the public in that way. But I think that the practice of publicly putting every person who's making a right-to-know request on the website would inhibit somebody who's making a legitimate right-to-know request from doing so because of the attention it would draw to them, and potentially negative attention.
Charlene?
Well, one of the things that I was struck by at a couple of our meetings, State Representative Cordelli has, at least in terms of how I interpreted his comments, called into question the transparency of this district regarding the expenditure of ESSER funds. And we had to help him understand that all of that information was on our website. So I think that if we're going to be transparent, I'm not sure that we have the luxury to cherry pick what we're going to be transparent about. And, to me, anyone who is making a valid right-to-know request, which is part of the public record, should have no issue with it. And if someone does have an issue with it, if they're afraid that they're going to receive a backlash, you know, that's not anything that we can determine. I think that it's always better to err on the side of transparency.
Okay, any other comments at this point?
I'd like to make a motion that
Okay.
we empower the superintendent to post these right-to-know requests as she described them on the Governor Wentworth website.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Charlene. Any other comments at this point? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Krista?
I abstain.
Abstain, okay. Stephanie?
No.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Chair votes yes as well. 5 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. Okay, Kathy, have direction from the board on posting the right-to-know request.
Thank you. Next item is New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. This is a really happy item. We received a donation from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. It's a $500 award made possible by the David M. Brooks Fund. Given that it's a music fund, it's been discussed with the music department, and they plan to use it for elementary students for wreaths, valve oil, slide oil, and cork grease. So we've already received the check, and I just want to acknowledge the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation publicly because they've been very, very good to us over the years. The next item is food service. Our food service staff is feeling the effects of problems with the supply chain. Orders have been canceled, deliveries have been back ordered or postponed, and they've been spending a lot of time finding nutritional alternatives for the students. There have been no issues with produce, thankfully, but paper products, specialty items, and milk have really become a problem. So, and yet they're continuing to serve a record number of meals. So I just wanted to thank Karen Milkowski and the food service team for their hard work. They've really been doing a great job in spite of some adversity these days. And then the last item on my report is special education. Special education audits by the Department of Education have changed over the years. Now there are smaller, more targeted audits more frequently. And on October 26th, the Special Education Department at the high school had an on-site review of students' individual education plans to determine if the district was providing appropriate goals and services in the area of student transition. And the school received a compliance rating of 100%, which is really very hard to do. So I just wanted to say kudos to Susan Merrill and the high school administration and special education team. Nice job, all of you. 100% is really hard to come by.
Excellent.
And that is it for my report, and I know, Jack, you have something from School Boards Association.
I do have several things from the School Board Association. As you know, I'm on the Board of Directors of the New Hampshire School Board Association as well, and we had our annual delegate assembly on the 16th of October, and during that time we had several resolutions proposed, which I know you had copies of. The first item was a suggestion more than a resolution from the Mascoma Valley School Board, and it was to establish a scholarship fund for student representatives that serve on different school boards. We currently have a scholarship fund for graduating seniors that are relatives of school board members, children, grandchildren, and there's 5 scholarships given out each year, 1 in each district of the state. There's 5 districts, and those are $2,000 scholarships. So the majority of people at the delegate assembly did vote to establish a second scholarship fund, again $2,000 each for the 5 districts, and there'll be an application process for school board representatives to apply for those in the spring. So that's a very positive thing that happened. During the delegate assembly, there was a lot of discussion on the different resolutions that were out there. One was to require school districts to segregate the money that gets sent to the New Hampshire School Board Association because of lobbying efforts. We do not accept any federal monies for any lobbying efforts. So that was it was a lot of discussion on that. It was basically decided that that's a legislative issue. If this legislature wants to look at, I think it's RSA 15:5, and determine the proper way that funds need to be segregated, that's up to them, but not up to the School Board Association to set a policy for that. Let's see. The Keene School Board also had a resolution basically to allow free and open teaching for history. And again, this really goes back to the discussions that have happened around the state on all the different diversities in teaching efforts out there. And the School Board Association and the majority of people there supported the rights of teachers to teach education and history. History is what's out there in our country, and we can't segregate and decide what is proper to teach and what isn't proper to teach if it's part of our history. So that was approved by the majority of people that were there. The rest of the resolutions were not approved. And let's see. And that's really what happened at the delegate assembly. And I'm not sure if anyone has heard that the National School Board Association got themselves in a little bit of trouble. They sent a letter to the President of the United States and the Department of Justice asking that the federal Department of Justice intervene in local school board matters from a legal standpoint and a legal enforcement standpoint because of disruptive school board meetings. This was not talked about or brought in front of any of the school boards that belong to the National School Board Association. There was a big uproar on it. The New Hampshire School Board Association has sent a letter to the National School Board Association withdrawing our membership from the National School Board Association. We, and along with probably 13 or 14 other states right now, have withdrawn their membership. During this time, after that letter went out, one of the people, Viola Garcia, who is president of the National School Board Association, was appointed to a position in the Biden administration. So it really left a very sour taste in our mouth. We were not consulted as a local board, and there's a lot of other issues with the National School Board Association, so we have withdrawn from that. And the New Hampshire School Board Association will continue doing its work on behalf of the students in the state of New Hampshire. That's all I have for the School Board Association. A couple of correspondence. We did send a letter of sympathy to Jessica Cullen on the passing of her mother-in-law and to Thomas McCullough on the passing of his father. And we will now move to Academic Affairs Committee report. Krista?
I apologize as we start out to let you know that we didn't get through our whole agenda today. Part of the reason we didn't get through the whole agenda today was we wanted to arrange things so that we could discuss the learning assessments and interventions that have been happening in the district. The Academic Affairs Committee asked for Katie Hills to come in and give us a report on what's being done, since we've had a very difficult time, everybody has had a very difficult time over the last couple of years. So we wanted to know how the district was looking at or looking for learning gaps and what we were doing to fill those learning gaps. So that adjusted our agenda. Katie brought in information about testing and assessments that are being done with the kids, and you can give the assessments up to 3 times a year so that you can measure growth over time. Because we don't want to over-test our kids, we're giving them in the fall, and the window is not closed yet, and we'll be giving them in the spring. And there may be occasions for specific kids with targeted needs to take a test in the winter time, but that would just be more of an individualized decision to monitor that child more closely. The tests that we're giving look at content, it looks at skills, it looks at strengths, it identifies weaknesses for the kids. Once it goes ahead and does the identifying for the weaknesses for the kids, it will give us targeted interventions for teachers to use with each child. So you could look at your child and say, oh, my child has done very, very well in these skill areas, and here are some that they need more help in. And so then it's the teacher's responsibility to take that and to develop and use almost like mini lessons and mini skill sessions for the kids to specifically target those needs so that the kids will start getting remediation. Part of that some of us found quite interesting is that you have to approach that differently, whether you're talking about looking at the elementary level, the middle level, or the high school level, in how you approach filling those gaps. And I should have said that last year there were a group of teachers that piloted the program and were quite pleased with the results and to help target and fill in the growth areas. So this year the whole district is doing it. When I was saying that the question came up on how we implement it, mostly on the elementary levels because the kids are so new to school. Theoretically, there aren't as many gaps because there hasn't been as much time or learning presented to the kids. So oftentimes teachers can develop lessons which will take place through their regular class instruction so that they don't have to go above and beyond. And they might find that most kids are in a certain area of competency, and there might be just a couple of kids that need a little extra work on areas. In the middle school, more time has passed, and not all kids absorb material at the same rate. So what was talked about is they have guided study times there, they have math coaches there. In the middle school now, there's a reading teacher and an English language arts teacher, so they have 2 different teachers, so those areas can be targeted specifically and in those classrooms. And then at the high school level, they have task, which is a time that they can work on these things. Teachers can assign supplemental homework to practice specific skills. In classrooms, there are study times because with having the longer block periods, and then some kids have guided study. So they have, and those are just examples of ways in which teachers can look at addressing the deficit areas with the kids. You can't go in a worldwide pandemic and not have kids not be able to keep up with the norm of what it was like before. So this was extremely important for us to understand it, and it felt like Katie had taken quite a bit of time with the teachers and with the training to get this done. And so we were quite optimistic as the approach that the district is taking to address this. The other thing from that I thought was really very interesting, and hope someone corrects me if I'm wrong, but if you looked at all the skills, and there are certain competencies, especially on the secondary level, that kids need to meet, if they haven't passed a class, previously they've needed to take the entire class over again in order to receive the credits for that class. And there may be a way for the kids to not redo the class, but take sessions to prove that they've improved in those competency areas enough to get credit for the class. Is that fair, Heather?
Yes.
Okay. So
we're getting there.
Okay. So that's the direction that we're going to, and I think that would really help some of our juniors and seniors look at how their last 2 years of school looks. So that was a big piece that we took on today that put us behind a little bit. We did not discuss the discriminatory practices, prohibitions. It's a new House Bill 2, and so we'll be putting that on our December conversations. And then the last part of what we did was we had started last month looking at policies that needed to be updated and changes in the law. So now we have to go back, and if you've ever seen our policy book, it's huge, but it all has to be aligned with the law. So one of the policies we started with looking at is the cost per page that has to be charged to people that want information from, and this is the written page, from the school district. And so that's under the public access to district records. And under that, for years and years and years, we've simply charged 10 cents per page. And because the increase of number of right to know requests and the volume of those requests, and we already heard what it's costing in time and copying fees, we sent Heather and Kathy on a mission to figure out what other schools within the Lakes region were charging. And they were, for the most part, charging anywhere from, well, we were the lowest really at like 10 cents, and they went up to about 25 cents per page. If we looked at a broader spectrum around the state versus just within the Lakes region, some districts were charging 50 cents per copy, per page that was put out. And so on that policy, which you all have a copy of, it's under the public access to district records. Everything seemed fine except on its EHB, and it's on this page 2 of 2, and it's under number 7. And the recommendation of the committee is that we go from 10 cents per page to 20 cents per page. And that would be the major change that would be made on that policy. Jack, do you want to approve policies as we go along, or do them
Yeah, I think it's easier, especially if you're making a change on a policy like that, then we want to approve this policy with the change that you just made. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
I move we approve the policy EHB with the change of the copy fee to 20 cents per page for copying and photocopies of records.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded by Stephanie. Okay, any other discussion on that policy? Yes, Jim.
I thought I saw there was some legislation that addressed this recently. Do you know if that was passed? where it defined that we had to determine a true cost, that it couldn't be arbitrarily assigned, but that we had to actually have to calculate that.
I think that's an LSR. I don't think it's passed, although I don't know
Okay.
that for sure, but I will certainly research that.
All right, thank you.
And if that's the case, we can also always revisit this and change it if we have to, again. Okay, any other comments on this policy? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. Krista?
Yes?
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And chair votes aye as well. Okay, Krista, next one?
The next one comes under the professional dress code, which is GBEBA. And that was quite extensive, and I don't know where the board was before I got here, but it just went on and on and on about what professional dress code was and what you could or could not wear. So, in looking at that, we've really taken it back to simplifying the code and stressing that professionals need to use professional judgment and that there are professional expectations for appropriate dress. If a professional needs to ask for an exemption or a change because they're needing to wear sneakers or something else rather than dress shoes, then they simply need to have a conversation with their principal to explain why they need that, and don't imagine that there'd be any issue, because usually those are medical issues. And the last part under there, I'm trying to remember where it is, but it was to say that, in fact, the principal really defines what professional attire is in the setting, which may be different from level to level to level. So it simplifies the code. Any questions?
Oh, and the addition of the language from the student dress code policy.
Oh, yes.
Regarding.
Could you do that?
To add that principals or their designees are authorized to interpret this policy in their respective buildings as appropriate and necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
And what, that language was on
That's on
JICA.
JICA as well.
Yeah, that's on JICA, page 1 of 2, and it's, if you look down, it's 1, 2, the 5th paragraph down. That refers to what Stephanie brought up. Principals or their designees are authorized to interpret this policy in their respective buildings as appropriate and necessary. And so what we're doing is incorporating that into GBEBA as well.
Okay, so we're making that modification. We're moving, we're incorporating that same sentence in JICA into GBEBA.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this policy? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Charlene, seconded by Jim Pittman. Okay, any other comments? Okay, Krista?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Chair votes aye as well.
Okay, we did not do the student dress code policy yet because we need more time to have the kids be able to have a chance to have input in it.
Okay.
So that should be accomplished over the course of November. And then we went on the student code of conduct. Under the student code of conduct, which is JIC, and then it goes on to JICR. Yep, that's it. And JIC.
JIC, and JICR?
Yeah.
Those three?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so those really are what comes right out of the student, or what goes into the student handbook. So those simply need to be reaffirmed, or were reaffirmed, or hopefully will be reaffirmed tonight.
Okay, and we
So-
can vote on those as a block if you'd like.
Okay. And then the last ones that we looked at was the JICD, and those are the students' discipline and due process. And all of that is quite comprehensive. It follows the new requirements, or all of the requirements under the law, that we have had conferences with attorneys around them to make sure that the district policy and the law are in alignment.
Chris, that was one of the ones we were going to, I think, continue to the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from what I gather, JICI and JICK will not be voted on tonight.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion. Go ahead, Kat.
Just one more quick thing, Chris, if I might.
Of course.
Stephanie made an excellent suggestion on JICR, which is, if you look at page 3 of 3 of JICR, and right below the area, the note that's in gray, she suggested that we include the RSA cited that lays out that students found in possession of a firearm must be expelled for 12 months. And Stephanie suggested we include the RSA, which is 193:13. So that citation would be right there on page 3 of 3.
Okay, so we're on 3 of 3, we're inserting RSA 193:13 in the box down below under the notes.
Correct.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, I'd entertain a motion then to approve as a block JI, JIC, and JICR as amended.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Charlene,
Second.
second by Jim Pittman. Krista?
Yes.
Who's second?
Stephanie?
Oh, yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes?
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And chair votes aye as well. Okay. Okay, anything else, Krista?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to finance. The finance meetings, the budget meetings are on 11/16 to 11/18. Finance Committee will be meeting at the Crescent Lake School for preparation of the budget. And under Human Resources, we met with, Human Resource Committee met with the GWEA Exec Board, that's the Governor Wentworth Education Association Exec Board, to review the memorandum of agreement that was kind of put in place when COVID first started. There was a lot of items in that are no longer appropriate. So we have a list of some of those items that were omitted. No more screening requirements. No longer the ability to teach remotely, because we don't have a remote option this year, unless the entire district, unfortunately, would have to go remote, which hopefully that'll never happen. The requirements for quarantining has been updated and agrees with the stay open plan and the DHHS recommendations. The section on workspace has been eliminated because the cleaning requirements have changed. GWEA no longer needs to be notified about the number of positive cases as they happen. The 3 personal days used for training related to COVID was omitted. References to the Family First Coronavirus Act, which has expired, was also omitted. And the hybrid model and remote learning sections were omitted because those are no longer in place. Some of the items that were included in the changes, staff members are allowed to use time, whether it be personal sick or family sick, during the term of the agreement, just as any of the sick time. Also, staff members, if tested positive for COVID, may have up to 5 days from the sick bank time and be provided a maximum of 5 days not to be deducted from sick time or the sick bank while in quarantine. And modifications in the safety, equipment, and supplies section and parts are no longer relevant were also eliminated. So again, we're just trying to update that agreement. It's fortunately getting a lot smaller. Hopefully, it will continue to get smaller as time progresses, and hopefully the numbers will start coming down somewhat. Any questions on the MOA? I know all of you have had copies of those. Stephanie.
I just have a couple questions. One thing that isn't clear to me is what the remote work expectations are for staff who have to quarantine with no symptoms.
Stephanie, it depends on whether or not they are able to teach their content area from home. If they're able to teach the content area from home, then if we don't have a substitute, a qualified substitute, then it certainly would make sense to have the teacher teaching remotely from home.
Okay.
In which case it would be a regular day, it wouldn't be a sick day.
Okay, that was not, it was not clear to me in the MOU, and also during periods of remote work, when teachers have to be home, it seems that the protections for using home networks and personal electronic equipment for the purpose of teaching have been removed as well, and I just was wondering if it might be beneficial to maintain those protections.
Honestly, I don't think it really matters one way or the other. I'd have to go to the particular section that you're talking about. I know that when we discussed in our group, people did not seem to feel like it was an issue. And during the remote period that we had, which as you know was quite lengthy, teachers didn't experience any problems with that. So, and the fact is, I think teachers do truly work. They're not just working on their computers and on the internet related to school during the school day. Even when we are in person, teachers are doing that kind of work at home.
No, I'm referring to, because home networks are unsecured networks.
Mm-hmm.
So just...
So do you want to point me in the direction of the passage that you're looking at?
I actually don't have a copy of it in front of me, so I just noticed it was absent, and it was in the original. Mm-hmm. So it was one of the sections that was omitted.
Okay. So is it the section, any employee information that is housed on a personal device or network is the private property of the employee? If it is inadvertently shared or accessed through the school network through automatic Wi-Fi connection, is it that one?
I think so, but
okay.
Yeah. Because if it is still the expectation that teachers will be teaching remotely, then it seems to keep that in place.
I think, my sense is, and I probably shouldn't be speaking for the union, but is that we would not be disciplining, we would not use, if there was some kind of problem with the process, the district is not going to discipline teachers for that, and I think there was just trust that that wouldn't happen. So I don't
if the union's okay with it, then
I don't necessarily, have a problem with it one way or the other, but I think there's enough trust there that people realize they wouldn't be disciplined for something that's an error or a mistake.
And the union has already approved this MOU?
I believe that it's going before their group, but...
Yeah.
Okay. That was my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we need a motion on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you've all had the MOA adjustments that have been there. So what I'd like to approve, I'd like a motion to approve them as they were presented. Yes, Charlie.
I'm going to have to respectfully abstain, and it isn't because I disagree with it at all. However, I was having a catastrophic failure of electronic devices today, and I could not actually download the MOA. So I think it's probably great, but I am going to abstain because I did not have a chance to review it.
Okay. All right, based on that, could I have a motion to approve the MOA, and we'll take whatever abstentions or no votes as they come?
So moved.
Okay,
Or seconded, whoever was first.
All right, I'm going to give, Jim Pittman, I heard you first, so you, Krista, you going to second?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's take a vote then. Krista?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Abstain.
Dana?
Yes.
And chair votes aye as well, so the MOA is approved as presented. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the advanced planning. You can see down below, November 11th is Veterans Day, no school on that day. As mentioned before, the Finance Committee will be meeting at Crescent Lake School on the 16th, 17th, and 18th at 6 o'clock. On the first day, I believe we meet with the elementary school principals. The second day, we meet with the high school, middle school, and vocational principals. And on the third day, we meet with special education. Is that correct? And then review the final budget numbers as they come together at that point. Now we'll move to public input. We'll start with anyone in the cafeteria who would like to speak. And again, state your name and town you're from, and try to limit your comments to 5 minutes, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Nate Williams, Effingham, New Hampshire. Hold on. Is that better? All right. The feedback is terrible in this room, but you can't hear that down there. So, just a couple of comments for me. Maybe we could hire somebody with a $500,000 worth of plexiglass dividers that we're not using anymore. We could sell those and easily hire somebody to take care of the New Hampshire 91A requests, or possibly using some of the $10 million worth of COVID money. That might be a good example, the 91A requests. And the board members mentioned transparency. It'd be really good to get all the 91A requests up on the school website, as well as the information back from the 91A requests. So if somebody requests one, and that information back on the website would be really good and transparent. And my only third comment is, I hope that all the board members are making sure to wear their masks out in public, because you're making our kids wear them, and I've seen some of the board members in public places not wearing masks. So I think if you're going to implement stuff on our kids, that you should follow what you preach. Thank you.
I didn't catch his name.
It's Nate Williams. That was Nate Williams from Effingham.
Okay, Nate Williams?
Yes.
From Effingham, thank you.
Okay, anyone from this room like to speak? Okay, seeing no one at this point, is there anyone else from the cafeteria who would like to speak?
Until we have better audio, because it's very difficult to hear them at this point, and I want to make sure that we're...
Let's see if we can hear them. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? All right, I can hear myself twice. John Eastman, Middleton, New Hampshire. I gotta say, you guys have upped the ante on the aesthetics for us free people in here. It's pretty awesome. It's got kind of like a prison-y Auschwitz vibe. But so, as you probably know already, I feel how I feel about the masks. They're pretty much as useful to our kids as seatbelts on your couch, but I'll digress. Right to know, is it a right?
I'm sorry. I
Anybody?
really feel like it's...
It's posting a right to know request on your website and charging more for paperwork, a form of retaliation or doxing against the parents who are demanding answers of you, since you've established already that it is a burden and a cost. Is there a breakdown available to show where this arbitrary $11,000 comes from? And if it is so expensive, shouldn't you, as a functional governmental body, just answer questions at meetings.
May I make a... Mr. Eastman, we're not able to hear you adequately in here. There's a lot of feedback on the audio, and I want to make sure that we can hear you.
He can't hear us. He can't hear us.
To maintain a semblance of fairness, at least, could we...
Hang on a second,
Could we wait until there's better audio?
Yeah, hang on a minute. Mr. Eastman, can you go to the mic and try to speak?
It's his phone, I think.
He can't hear us.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what the last thing you heard was. Is there a breakdown available?
This is... All right.
Can we permit him to come into the room to speak?
This is good.
No.
If he puts a mask on, sure.
If it's so expensive to do right to know requests, why don't you just answer questions and emails and here in meetings? You guys are awesome.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry that we didn't catch that. If there's no one in this room, we'll put an end to the...
Can we go out to hear them?
If you want to go out to hear them, that's fine.
I mean, if they cannot come in, can we? I mean,
You
I
said-
understand that it wouldn't be broadcast, but it just does not seem fair.
Well, I think the problem could be his phone because it was feedback happening there. And maybe Tim can give us some advice on what the issue is.
Tim, could you give us some...
Tim?
we're going to see if he's still out there. Hang on a second.
Tim, could you? Oops. Just make sure he says everything again, because I couldn't understand any of it.
He also can provide feedback in writing.
This is true.
I think it's the telephone. I think that's the problem.
And I think the phone. No. I think you're right, but I just think it's causing the feedback.
Yeah, the feedback is going through the phone.
Exactly right. Hello. We can hear you, Angela.
I'm sorry, if I could ask for clarification, gentleman in the Oklahoma Sooners shirt, did you say your name was Luke McNally or Nick McNally? Nick.
I think we just fixed the one out there now.
You know, earlier we were hearing people okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for your help.
Mr. McNally, were you the one speaking just now in the back room? Oh, that's John Eastman. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You want to do a round two? All right, we'll do round two. All right, round two or redo, whatever. All right, John Eastman, Middleton, New Hampshire. Is that good? You hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I said you guys have upped the ante. I said, the aesthetics in here are great. Did you hear that part? It's got a kind of prison-y vibe. But anyway, so what I was saying was, I know that you probably know how I feel about masks. I think they're as useful on our kids as seatbelts are on your couch. That makes me question your judgment. Anyways, right to know. Is it right? The right to know request, are they right? And is posting a right to know request on your website and charging more for paperwork a form of retaliation or doxing against the parents who are demanding answers of you, since you've already established that it is a burden and a cost? Is there a breakdown available to show where this arbitrary $11,000 comes from? And if it's so expensive to do these right to know requests, shouldn't you just answer questions in this forum or an email? Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more request from this room, and then we'll shut down public input because of the interference before.
Oh, wait. Nick, why don't you wait, and after she goes, you can finish up, because we just couldn't hear you well in the other room.
Go ahead.
Hi, Bobby Budman, Wolfeboro. Thank you for continuing your hard work on all this. I am going to publicly state that I have put in a right to know. In my right to know, I have no problem with it being publicly put on the website. However, I think just for myself and for other people who put in right to knows, I think if you're going to put them on the website, it's very important to redact personal emails. So if there is an email address of a public official, that is a public account. So absolutely post those. Also, if there is any minor's name on that right to know, I would think that we would be respecting the fact that those minors' names do not belong in the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Nick?
So, hi again, Nick McNally, Wolfeboro. I'm glad the note of transparency and trusting kind of snuck through a little bit. I heard Charlene Seibel mentioning being transparent. From what I've witnessed over the past few months, and just with the school board and talking to other parents, is that a lot of these right to know requests probably didn't have to happen had things been transparent in the first place and the board communicated effectively. Effective communication is the route to solving a lot of our issues. Healthy debate, being able to understand differences of opinion. But when you have whoever's answering questions either not being fully truthful, not answering the question, hiding information that doesn't need to be hidden, shouldn't be hidden, there's a lack of trust that that creates between the public and the board. So I think looking forward, transparency on all issues should be a key, not just some, but all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, I think we're at the end of our meeting. So I would entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A semicolon 3, paragraph 2, for legal and personnel matters.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Jim. Seconded by Jim Pittman. Okay, Krista?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. We are in non-public. Thank you very much for coming.
I assume we're going to stay in this room, or?